Hello, today I want to talk about some of the enemies of zombicide and what you're actually facing it, and show each of the different kinds of walkers I have, and explain what they do and why they look like they do. So what is a walker? Well, a walker is the most basic zombie. It's the one we are facing the most in zombicide, and yeah, they can be eliminated by doing 1 damage, and they give 1 XP, and for the most part only do 1 damage. But yeah, this is basically your regular zombie. The slow moving ones that if they get close, they'll start biting. And the first ones I'm going to show is the one from White Death. Black Plague, which is the base game that came out first. So this is the standard. See if I can get some good focus on this. And while these mostly looks like villagers people, it's actually because most of Black Death is fight inside smaller cities. So where the virus of the corruption of the zombies have extended into, it's basically started out by hitting all the humans, normal humans, and turned them into zombies. So I think it's a really good narrative message that these basically just look like regular people in no armor and nothing special going on about them. Especially when we move on to White Death, which I accidentally talked about before, which is the newest series where they're starting to wear armor, but that's because now we have moved onwards from the small scale city battles to more big battles, and it's actually also the big difference from the spawn variation, where the original walkers only spawn in smaller groups. These escalate depending on what level of your highest level characters are in zombicide. So while these were armor is basically showing that the first war's been lost, and the zombies that they try to the zombies we are fighting is basically the soldiers who try to defend the people against them. And yeah, I really feel narratively there it's actually pretty cool. But personally, these zombies are actually the exact same things as these regular zombies, which is make kind of sense because White Death was supposed to be a kind of reboot to the fantasy series. Next up, I want to talk about the Green Horde zombies. Now this is where we go into the first difference in ruling. Now Green Horde is also a base game, and it's actually my first base game of zombicide, where we are not fighting human zombies but orc zombies. And let's see if I can get it to focus. And these are a little stronger than normal walkers, doing 2 damage from each hit, but still eliminated by doing 1 damage. Which at first I found pretty weird because I haven't played Black Plague when I started out, but it makes sense. Orcs regular in fantasy is seen as more aggressive and brutal than human zombies. And this even extends to the summoning mechanic of the Horde, that slowly they're gathering their forces and getting ready to attack. And when they do, they come out not as just walkers, but also brutes, fatties, runners, and whatever. Then let's move on to, I think it's called Friends and Foes, where we are introduced to corrupted orc zombies. And these also do 2 damage and eliminated by 1 and give 1 XP. But unlike their counterpart of Green Horde, these guys, when they are eliminated, they will explode and deal 2 points of damage to anyone within the zone they are eliminated in. Of course, you're allowed to roll for armor if you have any, but that makes them more important to deal with in range, unless you have the plague mask or something else to send in there to deal with them, giving this extra layer of when you should go in and just jumping in. And it's especially hard for someone like me who enjoy the more melee version of zombicide. Now then I will move on to No Rest for the Wicked, which is an expansion that didn't actually provide any heroes, only provided some zombies and a giant dragon. And this is where we are introduced to the Wraith. Now, the Wraith only do 1 damage and eliminate by 1 damage and give 1 XP. But what makes them very interesting is you have to hit them with a magic action or a walled weapon, or if you have Wolfenberg's expansion, their magic weapons from there. Basically showing us that, let's see if we can get to focus, showing us that these guys are just corporeal, so you can't just run in with a big axe and hit them with, come on, focus. And it actually play really well into the idea that we have fought through the orcs and the humans, and now the Wraith are coming, showing the very biggest monster is on the way. But I will talk about him in another video because that's a completely different topic. Next up, I want to talk about some of the zombies that came together with the expansion of White Death called the but was an expansion to White Death, was the Climber. Now these guys are able to climb up walls, and I think they were created because of the focus on the wall, and you could actually turtle for a long time in White Death. And so with the climbers you need to be able to deal with them as soon as they reach the wall, or else they will overrun the wall pretty quickly. And personally I haven't played a lot with them because I haven't played a lot of White Death after buying them, but I think they look pretty cool, and it's an interesting idea that even the zombies are adapting to taking over defeating the humans, even seen with the armored walkers. Next up I want to talk about probably my favorite addition, called the Terracottas. Now Terracottas is actually only do 1 damage and eliminate also by 1 point of damage and give 1 point of XP. But what's different about them is they are always walking in a pair of 5, which means that if a Terracotta walker end his turn alone in the field, 4 more will spawn, or when they spawn they will always spawn as 5. Now I think it's pretty interesting because that means you cannot just pick them off one by one and deal with them, but you have to commit pretty much an entire turn early game to make sure that they don't get too close. And as always in zombicide, if you're focusing too much about one part of the map, you accidentally can leave you open to get overrun from another side. I've done that a couple of times before, but that's just because I'm not the best zombicide player. Next up we have the Deadbolt Walkers, I think they're called, which are crossbow men. And they also came out to an expansion to White Death, but this time they're actually able to shoot down. Now these have a range of, I think it's 3 or 2. 2 seconds, I'm just going to check. I can show you the checking. It's not this. Sorry about that. They have a line of sight of 103, so if they stand here and your survivor is here, or anywhere here, they are able to hit them. And while I do know that for Black Death existed some other archers, I unfortunately don't have them. So these guys actually is really interesting. Also, you're not allowed to use armor rolls against the crossbows, showing us that these crossbows is actually really powerful, making them a top priority. And in the White Death, it's actually also, just like the climbers, forcing you to get out to deal with them before they're becoming a problem. Because they will not actually climb the walls, they will just start shooting at it. And I actually tried to play with them in the scenario of Black Death, which I have set up behind me. And I actually find them even better here, because you're allowed to outmaneuver them on the streets. But also if they place like right here, they have basically locked down the entire street unless you can get to them. So yeah, while I love pretty much all the walkers, I basically always try to incorporate some different kinds, like normal walkers with deadbolt, terracottas, whatever I feel like, just to mix it up a little bit. But of course, some of them are interlinked, like the orcs and corrupted orcs are working together really well because they basically both play by the same rule. And some of the spawning court for these for the climbers and for the deadbolt walkers are pretty big for something like Black Plague, so they actually recommend we don't use them when we're playing as Black Deck unless you want to make it really hard late game where there spawns like 10 of them each time they spawn. But yeah, this was my video about the walkers, and again, sorry about the little confusion, and I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, have a nice day.